totalitarian systems are still in power after a long, long time. Another one is North Korea. North Korea is also a complete disaster. The same Myanmar, Burma, my own country, Venezuela, after 10 years of Chavez. Actually, yesterday was the anniversary of his 10 years election in 1998. So Chavez has been 10 years in power, and the situation is getting worse and worse. That is why I left Venezuela 2 years ago, and I decided to move to Japan. So I live in Tokyo now, which is a very interesting country, even though it is not terribly market friendly. But that is another discussion maybe for later on. I also want to emphasize, because we have incredible experiences of countries around the world that were divided, and one part became communist and the other part became capitalist, and you can see what happened to them 40 years later. After World War II, communism began growing around the world very fast, and Korea was divided, for example, North Korea and South Korea, Vietnam, North Vietnam, South Vietnam, Germany, East Germany, West Germany. And if you compare what happened after 40 years of communism, you will see what a disaster communism was. In Germany, the income per capita of West Germany was 3 times higher than in East Germany, and that was at the official exchange rate of East Germany, which was overvalued 100%. And I want to mention that because the most successful communist country that ever existed was East Germany, because the Germans are very organized. So even under a bad system, they were organized. So the East German communist government was the one that made, that created, relatively speaking, the best of the terrible world of communism. But there are worse examples. If you compare North Korea and South Korea, North Korea and South Korea were very poor countries, actually. Korea was a very poor country. It was actually a Japanese colony for 50 years. And then after World War II, the country was divided during the Korean War. And the country was very poor. It had an income per capita of only $100 per year, per person. $100. That's like Zimbabwe today. In 1950, $100. And now South Korea is a developed country. The income per capita of South Korea today is about $25,000 per capita. But North Korea is still like Zimbabwe. It's incredible. North Korea is one of the most backward nations on earth today, and South Korea is one of the most advanced societies on earth today. And they are the same Koreans in North Korea and in South Korea, exactly the same Koreans. They speak the same language, they have the same terrible weather, they would all love to stay in Hawaii, they all eat the same food, both of them eat dogs. Koreans eat a lot of dogs. They have the same religion. They have the same history, the same culture, the same, everything is the same, except for the economic political system. In the north is a totalitarian regime. In the south is a more market-friendly system. And now you can compare what has happened after 50 years of communism. And you could say also the same about North and South Vietnam, while it lasted for about 25 years, that South Vietnam, the capitalist system, was much more advanced. Or in the case of Cuba, because we have our Cuban friend here, Cuba and Puerto Rico are very similar. Cuba and Puerto Rico actually are sister islands. But Puerto Rico actually became more market friendly, and it became more attached to the USA, while Cuba did not. And Cuba then later turned communism. But in the 1950s, the income per capita of a Cuban was higher than the income per capita of a Puerto Rican. And now, the income per capita in Puerto Rico is about $15,000 per year. But in Cuba, actually, I don't know if you are too ashamed to say, what is the monthly salary in dollars in Cuba? Do you know?
About $20 a month.
You heard that. That's the correct number, but I wanted a real Cuban to say that. $20 per month. That is
That's a doctor.
Yeah, actually it depends. Yeah, it goes between $10 and $40. The highest salary in Cuba is $40, which is Fidel Castro's salary, and now Raúl Castro. And this is no joke. It is that. In pesos is 800 pesos. You have to divide by 20 something, and that gives the exchange rate, the number of $40. That is the salary of the Castro brothers. And a normal person without too much education, they get about $12. And then a doctor makes $20, $24 per month. Okay? And next door is Puerto Rico, where the yearly income per capita is $15,000 per year, which is about $1,100, $200 per month. So compare that to Cuba. So a Puerto Rican makes about 100 times more money than a Cuban. And 50 years ago, it was the opposite. Cubans were wealthier than Puerto Ricans. So this is incredible. These are experiences, in Asia, between North Korea and South Korea, in Europe, East Germany, West Germany, in Latin America, Cuba and Puerto Rico. So we have incredible examples showing how free markets are always better than totalitarian planned economies. So that is one of the points I wanted to basically emphasize. I had some other random ideas I had copied, and then we have also an open session. But he did mention also that I'm interested in long-term trends, what is called futures studies, and I work also with the United Nations, with the futurist part of the United Nations, which is called the Millennium Project. And we try to do studies about what is going to happen in humanity in 20, 30, 40 years into the future. And this is fascinating also for libertarians and for free market people, oriented people, because central planning was doomed already, because the free market is always more efficient. That is why the Soviet Union could not compete with the USA, because as Ludwig von Mises had written a long time ago, you need a market to get the ideas, to get new developments. Thousands and thousands of people buying and selling always know more than a centrally planned economy, even if it is God, I always compare, if you are not too religious, even God cannot compete with the market. Because the market is it's more open, more flexible, and you have thousands and thousands of people betting, buying, selling, and they know more than any single central planner. And therefore the Soviet Union could never beat the USA in that war, because we have free markets, more or less, in this part of the world, and in the Soviet Union it was all centrally planned. And that is one of the problems of socialism. In socialism, it is a centrally planned economy. And why am I saying this? Because in the future, things are changing faster and faster.